I don't know why Go West has suddenly ended up in my head, but there we go. These things happen. The Sense Trias. Right. Just wait for the notebook to start up. Smart notebook. Right, this is your unordered form. Okay? Username, password, email, all the address details to save me and to write it all out. That'd be address line 1, 2, 3, town, county, postcode. Telephone, mobile, so the home telephone, mobile. Date of birth, forename, surname, security answer, date start, date end. So that's all about the person, their account. Gender, active, date banned. Then you've got the card number, name on the card, card type, CVV, value 1, value 2 date on the card. Then you've got the game stuff, game title, description, genre, photo 1, photo 2, photo 3, game age requirements, game added date, game active, game deactivated date, etc., etc.
So the idea is to split these into tables.
Yeah. So the normalization process takes, you basically blast down all the data you're going to be recording based on what you've done. You're doing a top-down approach. So you're starting with your user interface to work out what this data was that you're going to put in. You assume you've done all that, and that's the data you've ended up with. Okay? The normalization process, we're going to go up to third normal form. Okay? First normal, this is unnormalized form, so to get to first normal form, we have to what's called remove repeating groups. Okay? So we have to look at this data and we say, well, what repeats over and over again, as in there'll be multiple copies of this if we draw this out as a table. Well, the first thing that repeats is actually the user details, because you have more than one user on the system. All the way around there. Okay? So that's the first table. I know you're going to divide up into multiple tables still.
But that repeats, but it's not the same, is it?
That's what. Yeah, it's not that the data repeats; it's that the columns repeat over and over again in the data. Okay, so that you have multiple items of the same data. Yeah, does that kind of make sense? Yeah. The next thing that repeats is the games themselves. So let's have a look at the games themselves. Where does it end up with? It ends up here. Is there anything else that repeats? Well, orders repeat. You have more than one order. Yeah? So you've actually got the basket there as well as a separate item. Then you've got the list of purchases. That's another separate item. Again, that's a repeating group. Each person will have a list of purchases. There's a list there. Orders are there, in black. And then you've got game reviews. Again, each game's going to have multiple reviews. There's been multiple reviews given by a person, etc. So there are our groupings for first normal form. Is everyone okay so far? You looking a bit confused, Patrick?
So what you highlighted, they're supposed to be like different tables?
Different tables in first normal form.
Okay.
Okay? How do we get from first normal form to second normal form?
Split those tables down into different tables again.
But what's the reason for it? You have to have reasons for each different stages.
Because you may have different things like
More than one person might live at the same place.
Okay.
Credit cards, you may have more than one, a relation of one to many.
You're thinking in terms of the data itself. And actually, all you're ever looking at when you do normalization is the structure of the database. Okay? Let me go back over the normalization process, because this is where I think there's been some issues in working out how to do the database as well. I'll use past Chris again to go through it for you, because he's got the example literally live, ready to go for. Is it on history? It will be, won't it? Databases. She was talking about being scammed. Right. So, we're looking for repeating groups for part 1. Okay. So if you look at our back at our database table, you can really down if I turn off actually, Chris, because I'll talk this through as I go. So what you're looking for here, the repeating data groups, we end up with a key that is unique. Okay. And I wanted to go on to the example now. Come on. Yeah, stop talking, Chris. Just stop delaying it. Right. So you end up with, from one item, you can see we end up with multiple tables. Okay. Is that okay? However, to link those tables together, you end up with what are called compound keys. So, for example, if we go back to our groups here, the game review that we've taken out of this object, if you like, this entire table, that is going to link obviously to the game itself, but also to the person who placed that game review. That's a compound key. And both of those form the primary key. Why do they both form the primary key? Because if the primary key was person, that means they could only ever write one review. Because you can only have the primary key repeated once in a table. If it was game, it means each game can only have one review. So the compound key is having both those items together in that one table. Does that make sense?
Why wouldn't you have a primary key which is separate?
You can do if you're building, when you're looking at databases generally, but what we're talking about is a process that we're going through still. So the reality of what your database would be in a real life project might be different to what happens when you actually go through a process like modelization. Okay.
Does then in that scenario mean your compound keys, which is unique to that one using that one game, is that then replacing the primary key?
Yeah, that is the primary key. A compound key just means a primary key that's made up of more than one thing. Okay. When we go to second level form, we're going to break it down in a minute, but we'll go through this whole process. When you go through second level form, what you actually do is look at each of these tables and say, are there any parts, any fields on that table that only refer to one part of that compound key? And if they are, you move it out of that into a separate table. And then the third layer is actually what we call a tidy up. Let's break it down because it'll probably be easier to do it literally as a worked example. So, let's just close the comment on YouTube. Let's make this a bit bigger so you guys can see it. 20. Is that all okay? Is that big enough for you? Bigger? Okay. Better? Yeah. Right, so let's go into first normal form then. So if you call this, right, what you do is in a database notation, the name of the table is outside of a pair of brackets and it's always in capitals. Okay? So, we're now going to make, what should we call it? User is one of our tables. Game is one of our tables. Again, there might not necessarily be the names we use in the actual database. Order. Where are we? No, not doing card yet. Review. The card bit will come through at third normal form. So that's we're not up to that stage yet. So everything that goes from there to there is going to be our user. Okay, first of all, our game goes from there to there. Game cost. Oh, hold on. We have got other things. We've got basket. Yeah. So, as I say, the basket I've summarised in just a pair of square brackets. There'd be actually fields in there, but I couldn't be bothered to write them all out last night. Purchased, then you've got the order. And I know you've got more fields in your order, but again, I've just put some of the important ones that I felt was important. And review. Okay. But now we have to look and see what have we got as primary keys. here. Yeah? Well, the primary key for user is going to be username at the moment. We're not talking about making unique identifiers and things at this point, okay? The game title is going to be the unique identifier for game. We'll put out basket and purchased at another point. I'm not really wanting to go through that. Order. Well, for the order, we need to know who the user is, username. We need to know what the game title is. But we have a problem. What's the problem? That's not a problem if you've got two primary keys. What? Well, the link is through the username and game title. But the problem is that an order could contain more than one game title. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you have to have a table.
So you'd have to have items. With the game title. The order itself would then have a username and order date. The order items, well, every order date and username is going to be unique because you're not going to be able to place two orders at exactly the same date and time. So the primary key for the items are username and order date. Okay, so those two items together can form our primary key for the order. So two different people could literally hit the buy now button at the same time and have order dates that are exactly the same to the second. Yeah? But you can't have two, you can't buy two exactly in the second if on the same account. Yeah? Okay. And the review itself, well, again, we need to have a game title there. Am I not? Oh.
Oh, you don't understand.
Yeah. Which was it from the Cool. Okay, so our first normal form looks like that. Is that understandable for everyone so far? Yeah? So things like review, the unique identifier is username and game title together. Okay. Now, we're going to start looking into where some of the other tidying ups might have to occur. Let's go to second normal form. Remove items that are only reliant on one part of the primary key. User only has one part to its primary key, the username. It's unique. So nothing needs to be changed out of this at the moment. Game, the unique identifier is the game title. So again, nothing needs to be taken out of that at the moment. Again, I'm going to ignore basket and purchased at the moment with it. Order, username and order date. Total payment refers to both. Order status refers to both. So there's nothing to take out of that. Order items, the game title refers to both parts. There's nothing to take out of that. But review, we will have to look at. Okay? Or do we? The game review rating, that's part of both the username and game title. What the person puts in, game review and username. The user game reviewed by is actually the username itself. We don't need that in. Yeah? That makes sense to everyone? Yeah? You're looking a bit confused, Patrick?
Mhm.
The person who reviewed the game is the same person who's got that username. Yeah? So our second normal form is actually identical to our first normal form, except I'm going to remove this one field which we don't need anymore. We've not actually had to do anything for second normal form because as it happens, even though we've got some compound keys, every other field relates to both those items together. We can't just say, oh, it only relates to one part of that field. Does that make sense for everyone? Is no one following this? Is anyone not following this?
No.
You are following? Yeah? Are you following okay, Patrick? Or do you want me to go through? Are you following okay, Sam? You're issuing. Okay. say that that's our primary key for order, for example, as we've worked out. If I only had half of that key, would total payment make sense? So could I just have total payment against, say, the usernames? Well, no, because we don't know what order it would still be part of. Yeah, it's the same with order status. We only know the order status based on the order date and username, because you could have two items with the same order date, therefore could have two different statuses for a certain order date. Hopefully, the third normal form's a bit better.
Order status.
I've got no idea. It's off your database.
Order status section like say in paid for is the order
No,
is
from the
placed but
review.
not being paid.
No, you didn't
Okay, yeah.
review by.
Yeah.
You're not going to put that anywhere.
No, because as it happens, review by, that field there is exactly the same as username. Or if you want me to, what I can do is just change the name from username to user again reviewed by. Because it's the same thing, it's the same username, isn't it? Who's reviewed the game is the username of the person who's reviewed it. Yeah?
Yeah, so just don't.
Does that make it simpler to understand like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the third layer is tidy up. Well, let's have a look at user and look at some of the relationships we might have. Well, the address, multiple users, or a user can have multiple addresses, and an address could be used by multiple people. It's a many-to-many relationship. Therefore,
Sam, I'm not sure. You don't mind me
no, it's fine.
Sam, I'm sure. You said we need a little bit more on digital media. I've given you one of the items. Something.
No, he's not coming today.
You got my email about that.
I haven't seen the emails yet, I'm sorry, yeah.
I'll speak to you.
Okay.
Got a little bit of.
I'm sure it's just something. I was saying that last week. Alright?
Okay. So addresses can be a many-to-many relationships. We need a table between the two that says this particular user has this address. So this is where I'm going to start putting an address identifier in. And that means that this address could be used by multiple users, and a user could have multiple addresses. Yeah? You understand that okay for that? Next thing. Yeah.
Totally sorry.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the third normal form, we're going to tidy up our table here, okay? So as we look through all the different fields, the address details, well, this is a many-to-many relationship. So what we're going to do is take that out of user and put it into a separate table, and then join those two tables together with a linked table. Yeah? Okay. Next thing, email. Are you going to have multiple emails for a user? No, we'll leave it as one. Telephone, home telephone number. There's a tricky one.
I suppose you probably have one telephone number per user. Or you can have multiple users that have the same telephone number if it's like landline.
So, we need phone number or contact number, contact ID.
Probably want to have people change it all the time.
Yeah, so again, you need to be able to keep track of that. So again, you may want to be able to have multiple contact numbers for someone. So you may then want to have user to number. And that'll be username. At the moment, I know we're still using username all the time with a contact ID. And that then gets rid of the whole thing. What type of phone number is it? Is it telephone? Is it, is it a home number? Is it a mobile number? Is it a fax machine? Is it a pager? I know we don't have fax machines and pagers generally, but that's how we used to have to think in the good old days. But it might be that there are other things. It could be a Skype number. It could be a FaceTime number. It could be anything like that. So there could be also a telegram, a messenger communication.
So then would you have
Yeah, I'll type in there. I'm also going to do the same thing for email, because email is just another form of contact. So now, the contact ID will be whatever it is, the email address, the phone number, anything. The type will list what type it is, email address, telephone number, etc. And then you link that user to that contact. So then that person can have as many email addresses as they like. It could be a work email, home email, it could be a second factor authentication email for security. All those things can now be set up. Forename and surname is linked to one username. You don't need to change that. Security answer. Well, you've got security answer. Does that mean you've only got one security question? Yeah. And is it a specific question or is it one they've chosen from the list? That's another issue. So we can now do user 2 security, have security question, and their answer could be there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you have user to security? Why do you have an answer as well?
What I'm going to do is the link between the username and the question that's being asked, they will only have one specific answer for. Yeah? So multiple people can all have the same question because it comes up, you know, what's your mother's maiden name, etc., etc. Yeah, does that make sense? And the particular answer that that user gives can be put on that link table. So that because they will only have one answer for that, but it'll be a different answer depending on every user. Does that make sense? But yes, you could be unscrupulous and have a login system where it asks you the security questions, they answer the questions, then you know their email address, what their answers are for that question, then you can use that online.
Mother's main, like common,
Yeah.
so everyone still use that, which I'm surprised they
A-
don't. Like another set.
Yeah. I'll go through my favourite security system that I've found ever in a short while with this as well.
Is this favourite is in good or favourite is in
Really, no, good.
terrible?
Yeah, no, good. Good rather than terrible. It is actually my favourite.
Blood sample.
Sorry?
You give like a blood sample.
Yeah, you have to give blood sample. No, it's much easier than that, right? Date start and date end. They're related to the user as well. Gender. You don't generally have multiple genders on a daily basis. So
It's
you can update
2018.
it.
It's
I
2018,
know, I was
Chris.
going to say, it's 2018. You actually have to give the ability to update gender, but you don't have to have it as a separate table. You can say, I'm all of these things on depending on the day of the week.
You won't run into that one.
I know I did, yeah. Gender is such a hot issue on online forums. Unless there's a necessity like statistics, you shouldn't put it in. Active is based on the user. Date banned, well, again, are they going to be able to be banned and reinstated? Banned and reinstated?
No, it's when you ban, you ban.
Okay, so do you need active? Because if date banned is just set to null, then they're active.
More for just reporting purposes.
Okay, that's fine then. That's fine. Then again, the card, as we've said already, we want to have a link between the user and the card. Oh, let's press the right button, shall we? So the card details are there, and then you have user to card. No, there's no actual order about this. Again, would I do card ID or would I use just the card number? Well,
if it's, say for instance you're in the same household, and you're using your father's credit card, but he's got an account, you may use the same credit
oh yeah, no, but as a unique identifier, you could use card number. Why would I use a card ID rather than card number? It's not security reasons.
I don't think you know multiple cards with the same.
That doesn't matter still. Yeah, because we've got a link table there to have multiple things. It's because of the length of the card number. We can actually just store it in less. The card we want to have the repeating items as small as possible to save space in the database. So if the card ID is just smaller, that makes sense. Okay. So our user table, when we're doing our tidy up, has got a lot smaller into a lot of different items. Let's now look at the game. Okay. So there's our game as it stands at the moment. First thing that struck me, right, game genre. At the moment, we just put the genre in there according to this database table. We would want to do that into a separate table. So genre, genre ID, genre, and we'd get rid of that, and we'd replace that with genre ID. Okay. The game photos. In the structure you've got there, you can only have a maximum of 3 photos. It might be you want to be allowed to have as many as you want, and some may only have 1 photo, which means you're wasting space in your database with photos 2 and 3 being blank. So what you might want to do is game photo, game title. Again, we're still using title because we're not, and then photo URL.
I'd like to also include alt text for each photo.
Okay. Yeah. So alt text. But why stop at photo? Why not make it media? So you can have photos, videos, audio clips, whatever you might want to have. Media type. You can actually then, you know, just by looking at the database, you can make some changes. Again, game age requirements. Well, that'd be age rating. So we'd have another table for that. Age rating. Rating ID. Rating. And you might want a rating description as well. Okay. Now this is again is if you want to then put in, you know, a game rated 15 may contain scenes of sex and violence, whatever it might be. So it's just so that someone actually knows what that rating ID actually means. The game added date, that's for the game title. Whether the game's active or not is the game title. Deactivated date is the title. Publisher again. Publisher is going to be something separate. Oh, sorry, that should be. Publisher ID, name. Good morning. Oh, right, okay, yeah, no worries. Yeah, no problem. That's fine, that's no problem at all. Yes, yeah, no problem. So we've got publisher ID, and we're going to replace game publisher with publisher ID. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone still? So because you might have the same publisher dealing with multiple names.
Actually, have a separate table for publishers. Or if they change company names.
Yes. So you can then keep, and then it keeps track of who that publisher is on that game, etc.
What about development?
Sorry?
You've got development as well.
Yeah.
So obviously, let's say you've got Trail, Activision.
Okay, so maybe. Okay. Actually, an easier way would be to have publisher owner ID. Okay. So that means that a publisher can relate to another publisher. So if the owner ID is null, that means it's a top level publisher. If it's not null, it means that there's a publisher that runs that company. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah, like Ubisoft owns so many other ones. Okay. So that has reduced our game table down. Again, I'm not going to worry about a basket purchased. Order items, and review can stay the same as well. So our third normal form looks like that. I will send it through to you as necessary. But that is now fully normalised to third normal form database of your project. Okay? It may look different to your one. And as I say, again, you might want to put in things like user ID. That's okay, you can do that, just to have say that you're having an identifier somewhere else. Does that all make sense? Yeah. You'd have order ID.
Order ID, and then you can have an order number.
Yeah. And again, you could still then link that order to the username as part of that.
Can I hold no pages and put them together? I think I just wrote the clarification. I don't know what any numbers.
Yeah.
In the order items, that's how you link the items to the order.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can do all of that still. What I'll do, I'll give you all a copy of this. I'll just, if I send it to, who's logged on Net Intelligence at the moment? Just, if I send it to you then, and then you can then send it round to everyone else, and then you can actually make the changes that you want to on that list, and then I'll see how you've got on from there.
Is it worth just creating everything again?
No. I'm not asking you to actually change anything in your actual database. Okay, this is solely for the assignment itself to show that you understand normalization.
So don't make your database.
Don't change the database, just show this process.
Okay.
That's all I'm asking you to do, to show that you understand normalization, but then you can explain the differences between your current database and this one, and the decisions that you've made. Does that make sense? Right, let me just duplicate this then. Send this through to you. Right, Danny. There you go. Off you go. Should explain this is like an extra session. Yeah. Joe comes in only one day a week for his actual lessons on Monday. And he comes in Friday for an extra session, which has been based on what he's done on Monday. So at the moment, what he's been working on is
Not its current stage.
is
Technically.
what's it called?
It can do things
He's doing working on final assignments that he's doing for so it's an assignment. He's doing a evaluation of practical project
correctly and stuff that he's doing.
and that's what he wants to do at start section. So just so that you know what's going on. No, the way it works is based on what he's done on Mondays, which is what we actually use for the next lesson. And what generally happens now is that Richard's obviously going to find out where Jane is, and I will then go through Jane and all the bits that you understand. And then it's well done with that. Yeah, no worries. I thought I'd just clarify. It could be a bit confusing if something else starts up. All right.
Question. So the evaluation is part of that same document. You're going to resubmit the same document.
Or you can just cut off the rest of it and just have the evaluation, but it's only way you want to do. Yeah.
There's another thing, reporting on graphics. I have to do that separate exercise.
Okay. The graphics on here, was looking about. Yeah. We've only seen it appears to be set out for cheap. So your evaluation has to be on
Right, so literally we're doing a separate exercise.
Separate exercise, evaluate the picture and say, does that match what I set out to achieve when I actually produce that image? So when you set out to achieve a dark and dingy and evil looking version of the image, did you actually achieve that? And if not, what did you do? Yeah? Now, the evaluate others use digital images, that will be done in class in about 2 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time. Okay. So you're not doing that one today. That will be when everyone's going to have their project set up, and you're going to go around and rather than show the graphics for the actual project, which is for the people that send that, or for the actual images that they've done. Okay.
So it's going to be about requirements of using this.
Yeah. So what you would. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. What you did is your requirements for that image. Did you evaluate? Could you have done something different? Could you have made it differently? Could you have made it better? The merit criteria is just in the structure of the project normal, and use critical reflection is to say, your valid conclusions for that. Okay. So, I conclude that I couldn't have done it differently, or I could have done this differently. Either way, exactly.
Yeah, that's
okay. Is that everything?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think we're okay on the rest of it.
Fantastic.
It's actually been quite a lot. He's done a lot of his database testing already.
Fantastic.
He's done web app testing.
Yeah.
So that's already in the document.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Really, it's the graphics, and it's the task form, which is the pillar stick.
Yeah. Flowery. Yes. Yeah. How can I improve my life? Yeah. What should I eat better? Yes. Yeah. It's a healthier, more productive. Yes. Right. You guys are okay.
Like as something.
You were using the same version? That's interesting. Yeah, you sent to.
If you wanted to,
Oh yeah, that's fine. Does it actually go to them?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, yeah. That's not actually a bug. It's not very. It actually sends us as
You don't have a specific
if I
evaluation
was to keep
structure.
copying,
Yes.
oh,
Oh, here. Aha. Oh, yeah. Yes.
At the moment, there's not a sending
What we've got here.
It's just music,
Good.
unfortunately. So it's my question. I'm not built that way. It's going to duplicate in the background.
Web app centre hopefully there's some there as well.
Yeah.
So you're okay, you know what you're doing now for that task one. Yeah?
Don't worry about that, that's independent management.
Basically, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah? It's basically just writing the words down what I've just done for you.
Project evaluation.
This is the issue for the new deadline for it is next Thursday.
Okay. So,
Right. Let me just stop the live broadcast.
Consideration, that's your list of things to do for B2.
okay. Okay. So, this is what we're focusing on, and that's our
Stop the
checklist.
broadcast.
So it's not in there.